Hello students, welcome back to the Bridge course class. In the previous video, I had given a brief introduction to biology as well as the living world. In this session, I am going to discuss or give you a brief introduction of the biological classification of organisms. Since the time of Aristotle, many scientists have been giving different kingdoms of classification. The first among them is the two kingdom system of classification, which was given by Carolus Linnaeus. He classified all the living organisms into two kingdoms, that is, one is kingdom Plantae, which consisted of organisms showing photosynthetic capacity. The other was the kingdom Animalia, where the organisms did not have this photosynthetic capacity. Okay. Then there was the three kingdom system of classification, which was given by Ernest Haeckel. Apart from the two kingdoms, Plantae and Animalia, now he placed all the unicellular organisms in a separate kingdom called as the kingdom Protista. Okay. So the kingdom Protista consisted of only unicellular microorganisms such as the bacteria, algae, fungi, and then the protozoans. But here, children, the position of fungi in this Protista was still debatable. That is, it was not actually accepted. Okay. Then later on came the four kingdom system of classification. So here, along with the three kingdoms, another kingdom introduced was the kingdom Monera. So it was actually Daniel Copland who separated the Protista into lower protists and higher protists, and lower protists consisting of the prokaryotic forms was placed under Monera. Okay, so he classified all the prokaryotic organisms such as bacteria and blue-green algae, and he placed them under kingdom Monera. But this was also not accepted because the position of fungi was not yet actually given clearly. Yes. Then next it was Robert Whittaker who gave a clear kingdom of classification, that is the five kingdom system of classification. So here, children, all the living organisms were actually divided into five separate kingdoms. That is, one is kingdom Monera, the kingdom Protista. So the kingdom Monera consisted of all the unicellular prokaryotic organisms, whereas the kingdom Protista consisted of all the unicellular eukaryotic organisms. Remember, Monera consists only prokaryotes, whereas Protista consists of all unicellular eukaryotes. Then it was the kingdom Plantae, which consists of multicellular autotrophic forms. Then kingdom Animalia, consisting of multicellular heterotrophic forms, and then the new kingdom now introduced was that of the fungi. So as I told you, the fungi were not actually well placed anywhere in these four kingdoms, so it was completely separated out by R.H. Whittaker, and he gave this kingdom fungi, which is also called as the kingdom Mycota. So this is the recent system of classification which is accepted even today. So these five kingdoms of classification were actually based on certain criteria such as the complexity of the cell structure, the body organization, mode of nutrition, and their evolutionary relationships. Now we'll study each and every kingdom. So the first one is the kingdom Monera. I'll give you a brief description of the features of these different kingdoms. So, the cell organization of the kingdom Monera, if you take, the cells here, they are prokaryotic, with the cell wall being present, consisting of mainly peptidoglycan and polysaccharide. So, as I told you, children, Monera mainly consists of prokaryotes. I think you all remember what are prokaryotes and eukaryotes. This has been introduced in your 9th syllabus, that is, you have studied the structure of cell and their functions. So, prokaryotic cell is the one which is consisting of a primitive or a false nucleus. Okay, so here they are made up of cell wall and it mainly consists of peptidoglycan, and along with that even other polysaccharides are present. Coming to the body organization, they are unicellular forms, but some also may be filamentous in nature. Then, as I told you, they are prokaryotes, no membrane bound organelles are present. The mode of nutrition here, they are autotrophic, that is, they may be photosynthetic or also chemosynthetic, and also some bacteria are heterotrophs, that is, they might be parasitic, saprophytic, or also symbiotic. So, symbiotic in the sense they are present in association with other organisms. Coming to locomotion, monerans, some of them are motile in nature, having locomotory structures such as flagella. Also, there are certain blue-green algae which are non-motile in nature. Mode of reproduction. The common mode of reproduction is sexual means, but also they show a primitive type of sexual reproduction during unfavorable conditions. The monerans are, or it mainly consists of Archibacteria. It is the primitive type of bacteria present in extreme environmental conditions. Eubacteria. Then cyanobacteria, which is nothing but also called as blue-green algae. So, the description of these in detail you will be studying in your PU1 syllabus. Okay. Then coming to kingdom Protista. You have seen amoeba, then you have heard of the diatoms. So, these organisms come under kingdom Protista. If you see the term Protista, protos means first, that is, these are considered to be the first formed animals. Okay, these are generally found in ponds or lakes, streams, or also in marine water bodies, that is oceanic waters, and these are supposed to be called as the planktons. What do you mean by this term planktons? Planktons means it is the simple aquatic forms which are present floating on the water surface. The features of kingdom Protista are the cells here, it is eukaryotic. Remember children, Monera consists of prokaryotic forms. All prokaryotes are placed under kingdom Monera. But Protista consists of all eukaryotic forms and unicellular forms. The cell wall might be present or absent. Body organization. So as I told you, they are unicellular eukaryotes, and as they are eukaryotic in nature, they consist of the membrane bound organelles such as mitochondria, ribosomes, Golgi bodies, etc. The mode of reproduction here, it is both asexual and as well as sexual means. Most of them have locomotory structures like cilia, flagella, or pseudopodia, as you see in the amoeba. The mode of nutrition is both. It might be either autotrophic in nature or they may be heterotrophs also. So if they are autotrophic, they are photosynthetic in nature. If they are heterotrophs, they might be parasites, they might be saprophytic. Saprophytic means depending on dead and decayed matter, or they are holozoic, that is animal like nutrition engulfing the food. particles. Then coming to kingdom Mycota, that is the kingdom of fungi. Fungus, generally called as the mushroom. The study of mushrooms is called as mycology. Features of them. Here the body structure, actually they consist of the filaments. That is, we say that the fungi are made up of filamentous body, which is actually called as the hypha. So here each of that fungal filament is called as the hypha. So the fungi are made up of many such filaments, and that mass of the fungal filament, here many such fungal filaments together, they are called as the mycelium. Okay, so there are many hyphae present. Remember, hypha is the singular term, that is each filament is called as the hypha. Many filaments, hyphae. So many such hyphae together is called as the mycelium. Now coming to the features. The cell organization here, they are eukaryotes, and another important feature is that the cell wall is made up of chitin. Remember this, it is one of the salient features of Mycota. Cell wall made up of chitin. The body organization, they are unicellular as well as multicellular forms. Remember children, Mycota is the group of fungi. So here all the fungi, irrespective of whether they are unicellular or multicellular, they are placed under kingdom Mycota. So as they are eukaryotes, they possess all the membrane bound organelles. Okay, and another important thing to remember is the Mycota, that is among the fungi, there is only one unicellular species generally, that is yeast. Yeast is the only unicellular fungus. All the other fungi are multicellular in nature. The mode of nutrition, they are heterotrophic, that is most of them are actually saprophytic in nature. They grow on dead and decayed matter. You might have seen on the breads, growing on the rotten food materials. On if you keep chapati for many days as it is, so on that you can find black thread-like structures or greenish thread-like structures growing, so that it is nothing but the fungus. Okay, they also grow in symbiotic association, that is the lichens, that is the fungi growing in association with the algae. Okay, then coming to the reproduction, they reproduce vegetatively, asexually as well as by sexual reproduction. Kingdom Plantae, it is also called as the metaphyta. So meta means the developed forms, phyta is the plants. So these are the developed type of organisms. The kingdom Plantae includes all eukaryotes. They are multicellular plants. So all multicellular eukaryotic plants are placed under kingdom Plantae. Then another thing is that they do not have locomotory structures. They are non-motile. That is, they are attached to the substratum or they are anchored to the ground by water absorbing rhizoids called as the roots. So they have specialized roots which are meant for anchorage as well as for water absorption. Another important feature of the plant cell is the presence of a rigid cell wall, which is mainly made up of cellulose. So remember, the plant cell has a cell wall made up of cellulose. You might have studied the differences between the plant cell and animal cell. Yes. And all the plants are autotrophic in nature. Autotrophs in the sense they produce their own food with the help of chlorophyll pigment. That means they are photosynthetic in nature. That is, they prepare their own food in the presence of sunlight using chlorophyll pigment, and using the raw materials, that is carbon dioxide and water. So as I told you, children, plants are the specialized or highly developed forms of living organisms where their life cycle consists of two successive generations. Okay, that is, if a plant has to complete its life cycle, it has to undergo two phases in its life. So the one phase is where they produce spores. This is called as the sporophytic generation. In this sporophytic generation, the plant body is diploid. That is, it has two sets of chromosomes. You might have studied. Diploid means having two sets of chromosomes. Then the next generation or the other phase of life cycle is where they produce sex cells. Sex cells are also called as gametes. So here this phase of life cycle is also called as gametophytic generation. So here the plant body is haploid in nature. Okay, so during the sporophytic generation, the spores produced are diploid, and during the gametophytic generation, the sex cells produced or the gametes produced are haploid. So these two life cycles, that is the sporophyte and the gametophyte, they alternate with each other. So this phenomenon in plants where alternation is seen, this is called as the alternation of generation. This is one of the important features of plants. So the members of this group, so as you know, most of the plants you might have seen, they are adapted for the terrestrial life. Next, coming to the classification of kingdom Plantae. So there are huge varieties of plants you can see, which are again classified into 5 separate divisions. That is, one is Thallophyta. So here Thallophyta consists of algae. Don't get confused, children. You have heard the term algae in Monera also. What is that? It is nothing but the blue-green algae. So remember, blue-green algae is a type of prokaryote. Okay. So it is the primitive alga or the cyanobacteria, which is prokaryote, unicellular prokaryotic in nature. But the algae you are studying here in Plantae, they are multicellular and photosynthetic in nature. Okay, so a few examples you have for unicellular forms, but others are multicellular algae. Then the next one is the Bryophyta. The Bryophyta consists of mosses and liverworts are the common examples. The next is the Pteridophyta, commonly which are called as the ferns. Then we have the Gymnospermae, that is consisting of cycads, and the conifers. So you might have seen these plants. Then the specialized among the Plantae is the angiosperms. These are the highly developed plants which are also called as the flowering plants. So many flowering plants you have seen surrounding us, such as the sunflower. You might have seen the tulips, dahlia, etc. Okay. Coming to the next kingdom, that is the kingdom Animalia. That is also called as metazoa. So meta is developed, zoa is animals. So all the highly developed animals, multicellular animals, are placed under kingdom Animalia. The features of kingdom Animalia. So as I told you, they are metazoans and they are eukaryotic in nature. All are multicellular forms. So Animalia consists of eukaryotic multicellular organisms. Then coming to the feature of the animal cell. Is the cell wall present? No. So this is the main difference between the plant cell and animal cell. Children, The cell wall is absent in the animal cell. So the cell is covered by only the cell membrane or the plasma membrane. Is it the only difference between the plant cell and animal cell? No. Another important cell organelle, that is chloroplast. Yes. So do you find chloroplast in the animal cells? No. So chloroplast is also absent. But what about other membrane bound organelles? It consists of all the other membrane bound organelles except the chloroplast. So we can say that animals are heterotrophs. Why? Because they cannot photosynthesize, they cannot produce their own food. So what type of nutrition you find in animals? It is holozoic. So holozoic in the sense they engulf the food particles and ingest the food particles. Got it? Then there are many other features, such as animals store their food in the form of glycogen or fat in the muscle cells. Another feature is the presence of nerve cells, which is not found in the plants. So how are the movements brought about in the animals, or how do the animals move their body parts? It is with the help of the neuromotor mechanism. That is, they respond to the stimulus with the help of the nerve cells and contraction of the muscle cells. Then coming to reproduction, lower animals exhibit both asexual as well as sexual reproduction, whereas in higher animals there is only sexual reproduction because they consist of specialized reproductive structures. Okay children, so these are a brief introduction to the characteristics of different kingdoms, starting from Monera to the Animalia. So each of these in detail you will be studying in your PU1 syllabus. Okay, then further I'll be just giving you an introduction to the kingdom Plantae. Okay, Animalia further in the next upcoming sessions you will be studying, but here I'll be introducing you just to the kingdom Plantae. Plantae and Animalia, you are going to study them as separate chapters in detail. So a brief introduction to this kingdom Plantae. So as I have already mentioned, kingdom Plantae includes algae, the bryophytes, pteridophytes, gymnosperms, and then the angiosperms. Let us see what are these algae. They are chlorophyll bearing. They are simple, thalloid and autotrophic in nature. So these are the simplest form of plants. What do you mean by the term thalloid? So generally we say in plants bodies, plant bodies divided into root, stem, leaves. But here they are simple forms where there is no such distinction of body parts. Though they are considered as plants, the body structure is not actually divided into root, stem or leaves. So such an undistinguished plant structure is called as thallus. So we say that the plant body here is thalloid. There is no distinction of parts. Okay. Then as they belong to kingdom Plantae, they have chlorophyll and hence they are autotrophic in nature. Where do you find them? Habitat is they are generally aquatic forms, both in fresh waters as well as marine waters. Also, you can find them present in various other types of habitats, such as the moist stones. Also, you can find them on the soil or also on the moist wood as well. The size, they vary from microscopic unicellular forms to also highly massive plant bodies. Very few microscopic forms you have in the algae, that is grouped under kingdom Plantae. One example is Chlamydomonas. It is a unicellular alga which is placed under kingdom Plantae. Then you have colonial forms, that is many such unicellular alga present in colonies. So we can call them as colonial forms, One example is volvox. You can see this is one colony where many algae are present. Then filamentous forms. So here you can see this is Eulothrix, this is Spirogyra. Inside that is the chlorophyll pigment present. So these are considered to be filamentous alga. Then as I told you, the largest algae are the kelps. They are present in oceanic water bodies, the kelps, and they are huge just like the plants. Algae, they can be classified mainly into three classes based on certain criteria, such as the structure of their thallus, based on the photosynthetic pigment present in them, also depending upon the locomotory structure. The plant doesn't have locomotory structure actually, but the gametes might be having flagella, also depending upon the storage material and the mode of reproduction. So the different types of alga are Chlorophyceae, which is also called as the green alga because of the presence of green pigment, chlorophyll. Phaeophyceae, also called as the brown alga, mainly consisting of the brown pigments, xanthophyll. Then is the Rhodophyceae, also called as the red alga, mainly consisting of the red pigment, phycoerythrin. Okay. Next, coming to the bryophytes. These bryophytes, they are actually called as the amphibians of the plant kingdom. Why do we call them so? So you might have heard the term amphibia. We call it for frogs generally. Yes, frogs are amphibians. That means they are present on both land as well as water. But here actually children, amphibia means it is not actually that they are present both land as well as water. It means that the amphibians, they require both land as well as water to complete their life cycle. Okay, they here the bryophytes actually they grow on moist soil, but for reproduction to take place, for sexual reproduction to take place, for the transfer of gametes, it is actually through the external water medium. Yes, so that is why we say that to complete their life cycle they require both land and water. So they are called as the amphibians. They usually occur on the damp places. Then also you can see them in the humid conditions. Okay, then also in the shaded regions in the forest, throughout the forest, in the shady areas, or when you go in the ghat sections, in the cool areas, also growing on the tree trunks. You can find these bryophytes also growing on the rocks, generally in the moist places, in the ghat sections, in the forest areas. You can find these greenish structures growing. Okay, next coming to the pteridophytes. They also grow in moist, cool, damp as well as shady places. The main feature of them is that here they are also non-flowering plants, but the another important thing is that they are a bit advanced than the bryophytes, because here you can find the development of vascular tissues. So these are the first vascular plants, and these are also considered to be the first land plants. Okay, so they are completely terrestrial in nature, so they are the first true land plants, and as well as because of the development of vascular tissues, xylem and phloem, they are also considered to be the vascular plants. Then you can see them also growing in the gardens or also on the walls. Yes. Next coming to the gymnosperms. So you might have seen these plants growing in the gardens. also as ornamentals. So gymnosperms are generally called as naked seeded plants. Why? Because the seed, where do you actually find the seed? It is inside the fruit. Yes, but here the seeds are not covered. Okay, so they are naked seeded plants because the ovules are exposed. They are not present inside the ovary wall or the fruit wall. It might be before fertilization or even after fertilization. Here there is no formation of fruit. Remember this. Gymnos means it's actually naked and sperma means seed. Okay. And another feature of gymnosperms is that they grow in different sizes. They include also the shrubs. Also medium sized trees are there. Also there are tall trees and shrubs. One general information, if you have heard of, which is the tallest tree. If you have got this question anywhere in the GK general knowledge quiz, the tallest tree belongs to the gymnospermae. So it is the Sequoia species, or it is commonly called as the giant redwood trees. So those are the tallest trees which grow ever. Okay. So here you can see, children, they are more advanced than the pteridophytes. Why? Because the plant body is actually differentiated into root, stem and leaves. Okay, so here you can see the growth of actually the well differentiated leaves. They have a hard stem as well as the growth of roots can be seen. Next, coming to the angiosperms. So angiosperms includes the closed seeded plants. So surrounding you might have seen many flowering plants growing. So these flowering plants are nothing but the angiospermic plants. Okay, why they are called as closed seeded plants? Because they are enclosed by the fruit, that is the seed. Here, where is it present? The seed is present here inside the fruit. The members here, they are highly advanced. As I told you, they are highly specialized type of plants, both morphologically as well as anatomically. And actual differentiation of the plant parts can be seen. It consists of the inflorescence. What is inflorescence, children? Cluster of flowers. In some plants you might have seen a single flower is present, such as in the hibiscus, but in some you can find a cluster of flowers growing together, which is called as the inflorescence. They have the leaves, the stem and the roots. So exact differentiation of the plant parts can be seen. Then angiosperms are actually differentiated into two types, that is the monocots and the dicots. Yes, so you know, monocots means actually having a single cotyledon. Dicots means which have two cotyledons. So detailed differences between the two you will be studying in your PU1 syllabus. So children, I have given you a brief description because there is a lot more to learn about these different kingdoms. So in detail you are going to study in your PU1 syllabus. Hope you at least you have got some basic information or knowledge about these different organisms. Okay, hope the session was helpful. Thank you everyone.